This is chapter 3, part 5. I'm going to talk to you about input failure. Input failure it happens all the time. It would be looking for, let's say you create an external file, and this external file is what you're trying to read in from. Most of the time in our industry, there are two things that actually happen. One is an absolute path, and the other one is a relative path. Developers a lot of times write things on an absolute path on their developer machine. But when we upload this thing to the server or when compile it, it becomes a relative path and we don't know it. So if you don't know what absolute relative path is, I'm going to talk about later on what that means with it. Input failure. Let me talk to you about these are things that goes wrong that we cannot have control. So it's probably when it reads in errors, when there's errors when it reads in with it. So I think there is a part in the lab that I'm going to have you do this. The clear function is a really good function to know. It clears the memory inside the memory of your RAM memory. Once the fail states, all further input-output using the stream is ignore with it. So once you have an error in there, any streaming, input-output, it's totally ignored. The program continues to execute whenever the value is stored in the variable. This causes incorrect results. The clear function restores that input stream to in a work state with it. So you have the clear method. This is a method. Okay. So output formatting output with it. This is kind of neat. I kind of like doing this. This is cout expression manipulator, cout the expression or the manipulator, and so on with it. We're going to talk about this in a second. With the expression is what's going to be evaluated. The value is what's printed, and the manipulator is what's actually in format to the output with it. Okay, and it always, for example, NL semicolon, right? So, for example, when you get into, I mentioned to you, alluded to you earlier, what's the I/O manip? This is the input-output manipulations with it. You can set positions in end, so it outputs the decimal up to the nth positions with it. So, if you recall one of our labs I had you do in the class, it gave you a really long, like 7 or double positions with it. So 14 positions after the decimal with it. We can control the number of decimal places by using set positions with the 2, for example, if we want to end it with the 10th and 100th positions. Okay. Again, this is the library file, is the I/O manip, and this is what you have to use is the I/O manip, the library file with it. Let me come down here and talk to you a little about fixed input. Floating point numbers as fixed input with it. So cout extractor is the fix. By using the stream member using the unsetf, okay, cout with the unsetf to fix with it. So we're going to see this a lot of times. You don't want a whole bunch of string that has a really long decimal part to it. It just doesn't look aesthetically, looking nice when you output with it. So, for example, show point forces to show the decimal to the trailing 0. So, cout, show point, fix, show point with it. So you could do both, cout, show point shows the decimal point, and cout, fix, show point shows the fixed positions of your output in your string with it. So, for example, if you do cout, set W, set width to 5, X, and line. Okay, so outputs the value of expression in specific numbers and columns. Set 5 is 5 spaces over. This is what this means. If the number of the column exceeds the number of the column required expression, output the expression is right justified. Remember now, right justified starts from the right to the left. Unused columns are to the left are filled with spaces. Must include the I/O manipulator. So I'm going to do this. Don't worry. I'm going to do this in the next example. One of the examples in the lab where we'll talk about this. Additional output formatting tools. There's a set fill. You can fill it with the empty space with a mask, like a special symbol with it. Left and right manipulators. Unset F format with it as well. So these are the other types of ways of doing this. Let me script down here. Left and right manipulators with this thing, so you can set to align to the left, assign to the right. How is this important? Well, I was involved in a job that I had to output and print checks payroll checks. So they got to be aligned properly to the right space within payroll with it as well. Reports, I/O like that. Types of manipulators. There are two types of manipulators. One with parameters and one without parameters. Parameterized requires I/O manip headers, set positions, set W, set fill. This is a good place. I'm going to stop right here.